We'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners on the land on which this project is created, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We'd also like to pay respects to their elders past, present, and emerging.
Settle down and gather round for another tale. In the world of Nua, where time has carved and cultivated a magical utopia of wonder, a small group of adventurers unlock the deep mysteries of the land, its people, and themselves. Welcome to the Down Under Dungeon podcast.
Notes for the 15th day of fall. Feng is reading. Very exciting. I should give him some book recommendations. Everything is still wet. Found Holly's bag and a note left for the professor. Made the professor sad. Who could have known that Holly had a heart? Doesn't change that she's still a lion ass. Holly mentioned the professor's from, quote, the icy tundras of Lorne. Doesn't seem like a place she wants to go back to. Do not dwell on Holly. You have scrolls to copy. Louis and Lysandra return with news. Lysandra has been kicked out of the priory. Yellen is thought to be a miracle bringer, having caused the rain to fall. For her to have done that, she must have been much more powerful of a cleric than originally ascertained. Or there's some other source of power causing the deluge. Yellen also seeks to overthrow the Jarl's control over Lal Udrud. Through an election? Politics on the material plane are so confusing. Why have a popular election when you can just overrule it with combat anyway? We have been asked to assassinate the bear. We have a party name. We are the Wellspringers, dungeon divers, archaeologists, maybe also assassins. A mysterious letter just appeared. An invite to Miss Miranda's saloon.
Yips. Yip.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Gumby.
Yep.
Was that?
Was that?
Oh,
Yeah.
Pingu.
No, it wasn't Pingu. They're like weird little shaggy.
That's Pingu.
That's Pingu.
That's finger.
They're like weird little shaggy little creatures. They have little.
I feel like I know what you're
I'm
talking
gonna.
about.
Okay.
Are they like Muppets?
Kind of. Hang on.
Was it on like ABC3 or something like
Sesame
that?
Street?
No, hang on. Yips.
It really sounds like Gumby, but I think you would be too young for that.
Yeah. Well,
Wow, really calling us out there.
No, I'm just
All the
fucking old.
parents. There we go. They're from Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
nailed
yeah.
it.
Yes.
Oh, yes, I do
yeah.
recognize.
Oh no, I recognize the middle yellow one.
Yeah.
I don't know those other two.
Wow. Oh, so Jeremy sees colour, everyone.
Like,
Oh my god.
Yikes.
Anyway. Pretty cool session last time, gang. We were tying up some loose ends from the end of your expedition, what with Lysandra being abruptly excommunicated from the Priory of Sky.
Mind me.
hey,
Liberated.
we also finally named the party.
did.
That was fun. Well, a temporary name.
Well.
A non-committal way
A
of...
placeholder,
Yes.
None of us like making decisions, so,
really.
you know, we'll have to make a decision one day and that's going to ruin us all.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll be given a name. Maybe we do something that's so good that we just get that as our title.
Miss Miranda, as soon as we named ourselves, she's like, all right, done.
All right.
Done, that's it.
Signed, sealed, contracted.
I know, it makes you wonder whether she had you in her sights and was just waiting for you to actually stake a claim on it.
Oh my god, could she like tell the future or something like that?
Bug.
Her
Telling you, be very careful.
Her marketing and comms department.
Scried on.
Yeah, her marketing and comms department is like, Miss Miranda, the email is waiting to go out. We're just still waiting for an address. We need a domain.
We need a domain.
Marketing.
George.
So they've got Karen in marketing at the...
Oh, sorry, we can't say Karen because literally my boss is Karen and George is her husband. And she runs
This is staying in.
she runs the marketing department. She no, this cannot.
This
be
is you're overruled.
It's their fault they're in generic names.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, Carol in marketing at Miss Miranda's is doing a wonderful job.
Yes.
I just imagine Queen being super nervous that the tent is bugged.
Yes.
And so Feng's just sending Promy around to eat all the bugs in the tent.
There's just like dead locusts everywhere.
Yeah.
Promy's having a field day and Quig is just on edge.
Does he also sizzle everywhere because it's so wet?
So
Is he
cute,
just like,
yeah.
Steam. As you awake the next day, you have all leveled up. Now, above the table, and for our listeners back home who love TTRPGs, what feat or ability score improvement did you all pick? Feng!
Yeah, so we rolled hit points at the end of last episode, which was great. But we had some time to look at feats and pick what we felt would be good. So Feng has picked Elemental Adept Fire, obviously. Not normally the most common feat you see picked in some D&D games, I think, anyway. But we have made some slight tweaks to it. So I'll let the audience know what normally happens and what we're doing. So with this feat, what it is, rules as written. Spells you cast ignore resistance to fire damage, which is really good. And then spells I cast that do fire damage, any dice that is a 1 will become a 2. So just a little bit more buff to some damage, which ironically would have mean that all his Scorching Rays would have destroyed jars last in that combat.
Yeah, just a little bit more.
That has also fueled the decision a little bit. And we're also going to rule that immunity to fire damage becomes resistance. So that Feng is slowly mastering fire. He is
Oh, yeah.
a firebender.
Which also would have been useful last fight when the things were ignoring fire damage.
Yeah, literally. That's Feng.
Lysandra.
So Lysandra has taken the Martial Adept feat, allowing her to learn 2 different maneuvers of my choice.
Sick.
She has chosen the Bait and Switch and Menacing Attack maneuver. Lysandra has taken Bait and Switch, which essentially allows her to switch places with an ally within 5 feet, using some of her movement, and as long as that ally is willing. And then she's also taken Menacing Attack, which allows her to attempt to frighten her enemies and also add her superiority die to the total damage roll.
So you're going to do more damage.
Basically, yeah, and I get to be scary now.
Yeah.
Great.
Yay, fitting.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Makes so much sense. She's in her edgelord phase, guys.
The shadow. Am I the shadow?
Shadow plays E minor.
Welcome to the Black Parade.
Yeah.
Start playing.
Wait, I can't do this.
Quick.
So, Quig has taken Metamagic Adept, as he is constantly developing and studying his magic, trying to find new creative uses for it, and has felt the impetus to become more useful, especially in combat, with his use of magic.
Sick. Which is hard as an illusionist.
Yes,
Yeah.
is trying his best to stay on theme. But the 2 metamagics I have taken through the feat are Subtle Spell and Twinned Spell.
Cool.
So Subtle Spell will let me be a little more sneaky with some spell casting, so people don't know it's me.
I suppose Quig did also just get counterspelled, and so he's trying to find a way out of that.
Yeah.
God, that was traumatic, actually. Yeah, and Twin Spelled is, taking a spell that usually targets 1 creature and targeting 2,
Yeah.
so some fun uses of that as
Nice.
well.
And Louis.
Louis hasn't taken any feats. She has simply taken improvements to her charisma score,
Nice.
which simply means that she's back in the city, she's back amongst people, she understands how all of this works, and she's starting to learn how Lal Udrud, the city itself as the community, works as well. And so is just getting back into the groove of being an elder and a very experienced person within community, and is getting some of that shine back to her almost.
So what do you take the improvements in?
I took the improvements in charisma.
Wonderful.
I think I said that.
So what's your charisma now?
It is a +4 and with a base of 18.
Nice.
So, how do we find the Wellspringers as they finally awaken, free from exhaustion and For the first time, all of you are rested from the expedition.
Yeah.
And
that's-
paid.
Hey, we have money.
This is the richest we've ever been.
We're moving up in the world.
Yeah,
Let's go buy some property.
Oh, yes. We need to invest. No, I was thinking, how much gold did I have before? It was 8. And now I have 208.
Thing started with 5 gold, I think.
I think as we all wake up and thinking about money, as Louis sees Lysandra is still kind of just in her tunic with no kind of embellishments and looked so distastefully at the pouch that the money came in, Louis kind of takes the belts out of her multitude of belts that she's got in amongst her clothes and skirts, and moves over to Lysandra with it in her hand, and just says, I saw you looked a little uncomfortable with the pouch that the payment came in, and after everything yesterday, plus the fact that you don't currently have much on you, so little belt and pouch situation might help you out. I hope I can adjust some things, put some holes in it if you need it. Yeah, just a little thing to help you feel a little more less adrift, I guess.
Thank you, Louis. That's really kind.
I snuck a couple candy in the pouch as well, don't tell anyone.
Thank you. Lysandra adjusts the belt around her, kind of forcefully poking a couple of holes in to tighten it so it's not
I have a leather puncher. I can,
She's just doing it with like the tip of her sword.
I can make that cleaner. Okay. I do have a sewing kit on me, love.
What does Louis just walk around with a full sewing machine?
Leather puncher. She's got like all the sewing tools and implements in her belt. She's just kind of put that and been like, she's already stabbed it and she's like, I could do that. Okay.
What are those big sewing machines called? Are they interlockers?
Yeah, they were
Could you overlock that? Could you imagine that's what she walked around with?
on my
Lugging
back.
it.
It's been there the whole time. Yeah, it's been a backpack.
That was a weapon.
Oh, literally.
Carried that all the way through the canyon.
No wonder.
She was sewing things up. She did say that. She was
No,
going to
no.
pretend.
I'm just being
It wasn't with
weird.
an overlocker.
She finds a plug to plug it into.
She just puts it into a pile of europium.
Does anyone have a fucking outlet? I need it now! My soul!
Plug it into a health chromatic orb.
There you go, quick version experiment.
He just gets electrocuted.
I feel like as Lysandra's adjusting this belt, she kind of notices that she's still wearing the like blue tunic, and just takes it off, just having like her blouse and her like linen pants on, and then just adjusts the belt properly and leaves the tunic in the pile in a corner somewhere.
Irene walks up to you and says, you don't need any use for that anymore, because that looks like bedding.
You're more than welcome to have it, Irene.
Yeah, you see she like bundles it up, scurries it away into one of the spaces in between her interlocking armadillo shells and scurries back. So what is the plan today?
I think we've got a couple businesses and things we want to hit up.
Yeah.
People we want to check in on. And speaking on that front, I think before, as everyone's kind of preparing to leave, I think having ruminated on everything that happened in the caves and in the city, Velocity, Louis gonna turn to the group and just be like, okay, real quick before we head out, I do have something that I want to look into. I know we were told to go to the mortician, which we were going to do anyway, but I have a couple of questions that I want to ask her in terms of some revelations I had in the city itself, and I wanted to let you all know before I start doing that. I don't want to be secretive about this, especially considering we've all come together as a group. And she kind of takes a deep breath, kind of steadies herself, then remembers she doesn't really need to breathe, and looks at all of you and says, about 50 years ago, I was meant to die. I am not meant to be here. I don't think. I don't know how I'm still here. My heart doesn't beat. I haven't aged. Part of the reason I left Hermitage is when you stick around as a community leader, being an older lady can only get you so far when people don't look too hard, but then when they start getting old themselves and you still look the same, it's a bit weird. And considering everything we've seen with life and death and time in this place, the rules of death and time being broken, especially, if anything relating to my condition is an issue or becomes something, I want to find out as much as I can before it gets messy, and I want to let you know that this is a thing. I'm kind of more half alive or walking dead. I don't know. Maybe. I've gotta ask some questions.
Quig would speak up and say, how did it happen? Why didn't you die?
I'd lived a good long life, done everything I wanted to, made a name for myself in a safe space for the people in Hermitage. And my wife and I, it was time. It felt like time. We took our moment, said our goodbyes to everyone, and knew that as we fell asleep, it would be our last night on this plane together. And then I woke up, and she didn't.
Feng will use this moment to ask, is that the Susanna that we've heard you mention before?
Yeah. She was my best friend, my wife, the reason I did everything. But she's been gone a long time now, so I've just been trying to live in her memory and find a way back to her. But I don't want this to change anything or scare anyone. I'm still the same me I have been for literally the last 50 years. I haven't changed. Just a little more insight, I guess.
Do you want to be reunited with her?
More than anything.
So, if the opportunity came...
I'm not going to leave you guys behind.
Okay.
It may be a selfish desire, but I have a purpose again now, at least for the moment. I'm well embroiled in this. I'm not going to go throwing myself off of bridges or ledges or anything.
Yeah, I know. I just don't really know what we'd do without you. You kind of center us all. You know, we're all a little bit crazy. And even though you are too, in a great way, you keep us grounded.
Thanks, kiddo. When those creatures in the that were summoned by that sorcerer in the city, it felt like they were meant to hurt me, but they couldn't, which is part of the thing that I'm curious and worried about as well. Because they hit you guys and it hurt.
It hurt a lot.
It hurt
And
so much.
Didn't do anything, and I thought it was maybe just the fact that my hips fixed themselves a little bit, but that blade went through me and it didn't do anything. Just in case I am breaking... Well, I'm obviously already breaking the laws of time and death, but there's also the music that I hear in the places linked to that city. There's the voices that whisper trying to call me to a place or acknowledge me. I feel like whatever it is, it's tied to that place.
It seems you only hear music in the places that there are those portal things that were connected by that map. So can Feng take out the map? Where are all of the portals that he can see on it?
You can make an intelligence check in order to decipher the map.
Quick, you want to start?
Bud, how are you?
Nat 20!
With that crit, you no longer have to roll intelligence checks to decipher this or use this map.
For any map. I think Feng just automatically succeeds on every intelligence
You
check.
just memorize every map,
He's a photographer now.
No, yeah, he gets a minor in geography.
With the Outlander background, you do have a perfect memory for maps.
Hey,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Feng is now the map guy, I guess. Fire guy to map guy.
It's dangerous. It's a pipeline.
Basically just Dora the Explorer.
Literally.
You see the professor and Quig have left like little keys and little scribbles next to some of the hieroglyphs on the map, so you're able to read it. You find several familiar places. Yes, the Hollowed Keep seems to be one. The Arcanite Henge seems to be another. And then you notice a third, longer line connecting from the Moon Gate out towards the east to a place that is entitled on the map, the Stone Lotus. And as you hear that name, you remember back to fighting the Dragon Wormling in the center of that place and how the walls unfurled like that of a great petaled flower.
It's the burrowers and the bandits.
Oh, God.
So, Feng is probably going to use that moment to say, if portals have opened up everywhere, then doesn't that mean that a portal could have opened up in the Burrower's Keep, but also Yalscruff's Keep? Is that not really bad?
Potentially, but not a lot of people know what they are or what they do.
With that nat 20 also, you know that the gate only opened when you made a specific constellation of rocks and sand and boulders.
Ooh, so could we technically go back to the moon gate, move the stones in a specific constellation and open a certain gate?
That is your intuition.
Ooh.
Interesting.
So
That's
could
also
we-
how, if we needed to close them.
How we would do it.
But we could open up a gate and get straight into the burrower's lair, basically, without having to do the whole climbing through the sewers again.
Well, yeah, they also know about the sewers, so
Yeah.
I mean, if we do go through with assassinating, that's maybe the way to do it. That's
We could
so
jump
bad.
scare them by travelling through.
Don't forget, you are also indebted to the
Yeah.
bear, which
Yeah,
is...
but we're not going to do that.
Right, but also, if he was suddenly to become legitimized in the city...
We're fucked.
Yes.
They go around and murdering people.
Yeah.
Stab, stab.
So what's the plan for today?
Yeah, so we're going to go to the mortician. Is it all together, or do you want, Feng to go talk to Frida in the wildfire circle? Or would we prefer to just stay together
I
for
think
today?
let's just stay together.
Yeah, done.
Oh, for a change.
Parties are
This
meant to
seems-
stick together?
Wow.
Oh my God.
There's more people than there should be. What?
Yeah, there's more people.
That's right.
My head
I'm still
counts.
here. I'm still in
matching
this.
Funny as. Shall we go to the mortician?
Let's go.
So you remember Holly told you that the mortician was next, or in the vicinity at least, of the septic speakeasy. And so when you make your way through the tent city over there, you do see the septic speakeasy, and off to the side, a smaller, squat monolith that seems to be hollowed out with the sign outside of a skull on a wheel. So it is up to you whether you would want to go and check out the septic speakeasy first or the mortuary.
Someone said that was closed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think happened to there?
You're just in the plaza now, so if you want to
Yeah.
go and investigate, you can do that.
Yeah, why don't we just go up to it and see if we find anything
Yeah,
that
let's-
indicates what happened. And
Yeah.
if not, we'll go to the mortuary.
You would think that such a place would be the most consistent.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think it would be affected too poorly
No,
by changes like this.
like rain.
Again, you approach the speakeasy. The familiar large ironclad barrel jutting out from the wall of the A large ironclad barrel jutting out from the wall of the cavern. The gutter system from the roof of the construction leaks with what appears to be still chemical spill-off, although less than it was before. The throng of voices and jeers from the crowd inside was familiar once, but now the establishment is silent and apparently lies empty, with a sign nailed to the front door bearing the mark of the tears of Persephone.
They're going full
They
conservative.
They came for our booze.
What is her motive for shutting this place down? What does she gain by that?
As you move forward, underneath the mark is a label. Warning, place of debauchery and antisocial behaviour. Liquor is a vice to the people, bringing violence, danger and malaise. Closed for repurposing by order of the Jarl.
By order of the Jarl.
What do you do?
The Jarl from Feldspar? Or the
I was
Jarl
gonna say Yellen's not a Jarl yet.
But she may have forced the Jarl's hand weeks ago.
Maybe.
Could be anything.
Is there like a stamp or a
It has the tears of Persephone on it, so
Okay.
it's obviously Yellen.
Okay. So it's Yellen calling herself a Jarl already.
It's by order of the Jarl, though.
Okay,
It didn't say
okay.
by order of the mother.
Yeah, no, sorry, I was wondering if the Jarl had his stamp under it or anything like that.
Quig, your intuition relating that rings true in the fact that perhaps something was found out that compromised this. And where people can't go to the pub, where do they go? To church.
This is so sad.
I'm just trying to think of what she gains from closing it, though, in terms of what, if this is the only place in the city that's been closed, who ran it again?
The barber person who was...
Dr. Kibble
Dr.
Anthrax.
That's it. Dr.
Kibbles Anthrax. What was she doing that Yalla didn't like? So we knew she was pulling teeth.
As you are pondering this note, you do hear the sound of a glass being dropped and a shit from inside.
I think Lysandra's just going to go for the door handle to try and open the door.
You see the door is unlocked and ajar, and as you push it aside, you enter the familiar place of the speakeasy, but completely barren. Tables are pushed to the side of the wall, and chairs are stacked precariously upon them. The only movement you see is the Dr. Kibble Anthrax, emptying a barrel of what appears to be dark liquor down a spill drain behind the counter. Well, never thought I'd say this, but if you're looking for a drink, you've come to the wrong place.
More just wondering what happened.
You see she gestures around and says, "Look, any good businesswoman knows when they're beat. The lack of religious influence here and general piety was one of the reasons that attracted me to this place, but she's changed."
So you're leaving?
Yes, well, let's just say, liquor doesn't fall from the sky. Water does, apparently. But before then, there was the lagoon or nothing. So me and the Arl had a little agreement, should we say, that maybe I was allowed a little bit more than my share of the water. And once the Mother Yellen found out of this contradiction, the people were none too happy that I was making a profit.
Feng would ask, what were you using the extra water for?
You see she gestures behind her to all of her beers and ales and spirits. I was the mistress of this city, and no longer.
Does Feng realise what that implies?
I think so.
Yeah, Feng is quite a loose-lipped person, so he's just going to, as soon as she says that, probably even like cut off the end of her sentence and go, "Oh, so you're the mistress from Blaine."
You see, she looks for a moment and says, "Well, I suppose you're talking about my little runts running around. Well, they were my little runts." And you see she kind of like stiffens up at the moment. She says, "Part of me thinks I might have tried to treat them better and they wouldn't have gone running over to Yellen as soon as she offered them the reprieve, I guess."
Well, yeah, it's kind of they were doing you a favour, so like, if you provided them warmth and shelter, maybe they wouldn't have been so quick to leave,
Yeah, they were sleeping outside in the cold.
Yes, well, in case you haven't noticed, life here is rough on the frontier. And if I had a full alcove of well-bedded and rested infants running around the city, I'm sure they would have attracted a little bit more of attention.
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense, but is your lifestyle possible without them? Is your operation possible without them?
You see the toothiest grin spreads over Dr. Kibble's face. Well, I could slug it out here, hopefully for the best, but there are plenty of backwaters with plenty of hicks who needs a shot, a different kind of shot, and a tooth pulled, so I'll be fine. But where alcohol fails, there's always hard drugs.
You know what? You're fucking right.
That's what I've been saying. Would you be interested?
What drugs you got?
You see she moves over to the door and shuts it and turns to you and says, "Well, nothing at the moment. Well, nothing solid, but I am coined this wonder drug called Ethereal Shade. Except, unfortunately, it has a little bit of a problem with the side effects. Great high, but the problem is, it's, and you see she's like shuffling her feet here and says, it's kind of derived from refined europium, so it's got a bit of a kick, and, some of my test subjects have, had some complaints with, just like eyeballs exploding, instant necrosis of the liver, all of that kind of stuff. But I can't get my hands on any more of it to do more tests. The problem is, pension prospecting is the only one with the know-how and firepower to refine europium out here.
Anyway, actually, it's something else we were doing. I guess we We don't need any hard drugs, Feng.
I don't know. I'm not opposed to them, but like Feng in this moment is thinking about setting himself up with allies that could view Yellen as a common enemy, and because she has taken away the children from who we've just learned is the mistress, that isn't in. But I suppose Scruff has asked us to take out the Pension Prospecting Guild as well. No, or not take them
He's
out.
asked us to look into them because they've been hiding stuff from him.
They've been hiding stuff from him. She also seems to potentially want to do that, or at least stop them from refining europium or learn how they did it. Can we leverage this situation?
And get her to stay here as someone who can help us.
And someone we can trust, because that will owe us. That's the only path of my thinking.
Quig was just thinking, child slavery is not cool.
Well, that's also kind of why Feng is coming from this angle of like, and he asked her, was your lifestyle possible?
Hot take, by the way. No. Too hard to handle.
Was this operation possible without the children? Because if not, then why didn't you treat them better, kind of thing? And making her realize that. And he probably would also put into place a caveat that like, if she was to get her operation back up and running, she's got to treat them well. I don't know. That's just my thought process. What does everyone else think?
It's a good line.
I like that we could try and convince her to offer them almost a better deal.
Yeah.
Children can be swayed.
That sounds so bad.
Can be swayed to be true.
Drugs from a child.
Taking
But all I'm saying is that, like...
Choked up baby.
I know, but again, like, yeah, maybe we wouldn't do this.
I suppose in terms of prioritizing, it's probably not going to be a case for you guys to be good and bad. It is going to be a scale of bad.
Yeah.
And how high you place Yellen on that scale versus the other people in the city.
Yeah.
But we don't know what Yellen's end goal is.
We haven't seen her do anything objectively evil.
No.
But you've seen the consequences of her actions.
And we could probably also get answers from the children if we get them on our side.
Yeah.
Because children can also be loose-lipped.
Well, that was how we learnt the name of the mistress in the first place.
Exactly. So if we can get the mistress or help the mistress get the children back, then we have an army of kids on our side.
An army of kids.
Why are you talking about getting other children back?
I'm just saying, we could help her do that. We have a common enemy, and if we take the kids away from Yellen, you know...
Because that's also true. Like, would we prefer the kids to be looked after by Yellen or by the mistress?
It seems like they're probably better looked after by Yellen.
But what makes us think that?
Yeah, I think,
What evidence have we seen?
yeah, I think Louis is a person who has specifically within her life curated spaces for children that have been lost like this. She's not too happy about the way that they're being treated by either person, because both of them are just simply exploiting the children.
100%.
Yeah. So I think she'll kind of, like, as we're having this discussion, sort of bring up the thing of, like, is there a way that we can potentially find a better place for the children to be outside of the influence of either of these two people?
Yeah, so Feng will probably turn to the party, or as Quig says that, and say, well, I'm just kind of thinking of options for the future of people we can use. Do you not think that this is worth it?
I don't like the way that kids are being treated in this city, I'm just going to say.
And you see the doctor pipes up and says, well, I mean, neither do I, but everyone makes good of their own circumstances.
And
Yes, they might subsist on a meagre living with me, but better than dying from hunger and exposure. Look, I'm no saint. I didn't come here to be a saint, nor have I pretended to be a saint. But someone is.
I don't disagree with you, and I appreciate the work that you have done to attempt to protect these children in whatever guise you think you have, which I'm not saying that you haven't. Listen, the frontier's a hard place. Looking after kids in any way, shape, or form is a hard deal. If this gets back up off the ground, how opposed are you to Yellen? What are you willing to do to help? Be an actual bastion of your community.
Look, this bastions of communities and social spaces for children. You offered the fairies, miss. This is the luxury. This is luxury.
I'm right here.
Some offense. But really, like, this is all well and good, and this is what Yellen is spouting. Something that's better or tomorrow, but that's not the case out here. We've always had to work for what we wanted at any cost, or die. That's basically the rules out here. And that's what I've operated under. But I'm not about to risk my neck overthrowing some watery tart who thinks that she can upend my business. That's not worth it. It's too much heat for me. I'm just going to go somewhere else where the rain doesn't fall and people are thirsty.
Lysandra butts in. So you're just going to leave your community that you built? Seems pretty weak to me.
She's here for the profit, not for the people, love.
Yes, but when we first came in here, you were thriving. Your community was abundant.
Yeah, they were pissed.
Yes, they were pissed, but they were a community. And you're just going to let all that go? Surely there's some part of you that doesn't want to just leave.
Feng will probably point around to Lysandra and say, did she really build a community if no one's here to actually help her?
They would have stayed.
No one wants to come within 10 feet of this establishment now that the Tears have done what they've done. I'm a social pariah now.
I mean, you were the one hoarding the water, but it might have been a bit more than the Tears action that caused that.
Well, I did know nothing without the direct consent of the Jarl, and this is his city.
So you're
For now.
For now.
Exactly, which is why my ass is out here.
Fair enough.
Well, let me know if you need anyone who needs to buy this old hunk of junk, but I'll be gone out here by tomorrow.
Property?
Yeah. It's just like,
We all had that thought.
Feng starts looking around. How much you selling this place for?
Well, actually, I was renting this. This is owned by the city of Lal Udrud, which is why they were able to shut me down.
Does Lal Udrud have squatting rights?
Yeah. Even in domain law.
You've seen the tent city, right? They just appeared there. No one stopped them.
What does that mean? Sorry.
It means there is squatters' rights.
Okay, thank you.
There's a whole city of people that just were there.
Shut up.
All right, I think we own this place now. I'm pretty sure that's how the law works.
Yeah, you're being evicted.
Feng goes and puts a sign out the front that says the Wellspringers.
No, don't say that. Make an insight check.
Okay. 14.
If no one wants to come within 10 feet of this place and it's seemingly abandoned, probably a good place for a base of operations.
Better for it to seem abandoned still.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than attract Yellen's attention.
No, that's right, but normally I just like to, stake claim to things, show that it's mine.
If we
You can put a sign inside.
Okay. Feng starts doing an arts and crafts project in the corner by himself.
If I know anything about carving out a space for yourself, if you stay in a place long enough with an abundance of caution to begin with, then people get used to you being there and think you belong. So if we lay low, might work.
And we're right next to the morgue.
Yeah, could we ask Kibbles? Hey, is there, a secret entry and exit out of this place?
Oh, what? Are you saying that sometimes I have to dispose of bodies in an indiscreet way?
No, I think
go straight to the mortuary.
Well, I mean, there is, but I don't think Vanessa will appreciate people jumping out from, unannounced and unintroduced.
I will go through the front door to begin with.
Louis, you say that, but you also realise that people might have seen you go in here, and so you have to be very careful about how you proceed from now on if you want to make this your base of operations. What do you do?
Yes or no base? What are people thinking?
Oh yeah, I think it's good.
Unless we want to stay in the Four Eyes, but even then that might...
We got more space here.
And are we using this secretly away from the professor? What's our intention?
How? So this is kind of center of town, right? The Four Eyes is further away.
The Four Eyes is much more in the tent city.
Yeah.
This place is pretty much smack bang in the city, in between the Udrud Gorge and the tent city.
I don't love it. I don't love it as an option. I understand both sides, but given it's so close to everything, I feel like it's a bit risky.
Yeah, it's also the thing of other people would want to break in and use space if they need.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like if Yellen has already shut this down, what's the chance that she's going to
Check in,
but also take it for herself?
So you're all no?
I feel like it's a no from me.
Well, I think it doesn't have to be base space.
That's
but
what I meant.
It's a good place. It's a good place to use.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, to use to be able to be in the center of things, but still be kind of stealthy. But I don't think we set up here.
Done. Feng solaces to himself and says, I'll get to decorate a room sometime.
He's just making little flowers.
Yeah.
Surely
Around on the side.
Undoes all his druidcraft.
Oh.
Professor will need help to redecorate after all the rain.
I think she's pretty set on how that looks.
The aesthetic is made.
Yeah.
We saved her. She owes us.
Let me decorate your place.
Let me play Sims in your tent.
You see the doctor, who no longer holds much loyalty to her position or the city anymore, indicates to you a secret hatch behind the bar, which leads down into a cellar, and she says that cellar is connected to the overflow storage room of the mortuary. What do? You see she just continues to pour out ale, considering it's all contraband now. She says,
of luck.
contraband, also highly flammable.
Can I have a bottle?
You see she tosses you one, make a dexterity saving throw.
Not light it on fire.
Dirty 20.
Dirty 20. Yeah, you palm a quite expensive bottle of vintage wine from the Spine, and she says, why not? That's worth more than most of these ale in here, and none of the simpletons ever ordered it anyway.
Thank you very much. Sorry that we couldn't help.
You do notice it's High Elven made.
Is there an Arduinovia? What's his last name?
No.
Does his parents make wine too?
It would not surprise me.
You're the one who made him.
That's what I'm saying, it wouldn't surprise me.
A vineyard princess, like heir to a vineyard.
So are we gonna go in sneakily and scare the crap out of this mortician, or are we gonna go back through the front door if we're not gonna use this place?
I think that us going back out the front door kind of sets that in stone of this. We aren't trying to sneak around here. People that saw us enter will see us exit. Then there's nothing shady.
And at least then they won't see us exiting from the morticians and entering
not
here.
having gone in. Yeah.
Yep, good point.
Yeah, let's go for the front door then.
Front door.
You return to the small plaza and take a sharp right to the squat building. In Lal Udrud, the mortician seems to keep to herself, as any death on the frontier is largely no mystery and usually can be written down to exposure, dehydration, or bloody murder. Nonetheless, the mortician is tasked with the grisly business of documenting death on the frontier. While often shunned from society given the nature of the work, the professor was careful to outline the importance of such public servants in raising the alarm on hazardous areas, diseases, and more rarely, unsafe work practices on mining sites overseen by the pension prospecting company.
Interesting.
As you approach the area, you notice a squat sandstone monolith of a deep copper hue, the size of a small 2-story cottage, jutting up from the sparse tenting around it. There appears to be a good amount of space left between any other residential tent and the mortician's rock, probably either for superstitious or hygienic purposes. How are you proceeding?
I guess is it like an open shopfront business, or is it?
It's a public service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they have a bell on the door that rings as we...
So just remember, guys, we're asking about death magic, but it's very much like hush, hush.
Yeah.
She's not supposed to be doing it, but Holly said she knows a thing or two.
Should we be wary given her relationship with Holly if there was one?
I think we should be wary. I think we shouldn't come on too strong immediately because she would get spooked.
And I think we should be wary of anyone we haven't met before.
So, we're just a group of friends.
Yeah.
Walking into the mortuary together for a little chat.
Very casual.
Here to support our grandma.
Oh my
Yep.
god.
We're doing that.
Soon to be client.
One of those prepaid funerals.
Yeah.
It's a genuinely good idea to come in on.
I've got
we
to
gonna
pick out
plot?
my coffin.
Yeah, we reserve
Do we do
reserve
pre-
an urn.
Do we do prepaid funerals? Can we discuss the planning of a celebration of life festival?
Yeah,
And then we
better
just
to
lead
plan.
into
Personally.
the other questions.
What's your cheapest package? Grandma's cheap.
You got plywood. You got plywood.
Yeah.
So who's leading us in here then? Is it the children or is it the grandma?
Feng just walks straight in and says, I'm here to inquire about some packages.
Reinforced cardboard sold.
Get in, Louis.
Try that for size.
I live another 100 years underground.
Yeah.
As you push open the door, a slight tinkle can be heard as a bell is rung. You noticed several sunken pits line the room, surrounded by shelves of embalming liquid and nameless substances. But all of these shelves are low to the ground. An arcane light shimmering into the room provides overhead illumination to the mortician at work. You see a figure lie meticulously next to their charge, reaching down into the pit and gently applying intricate instruments to the cadaver. She wears a tight black tunic, and her legs are wrapped tightly in strips of white and grey material. At the sound of your entry, the figure turns and lifts themselves into an ornate chair. Wheeling towards the party, she addresses you all through thick-rimmed glasses, stretching out a delicate and spindly hand. Vanessa, pleased to meet you.
Pleasure to make your acquaintance. My name is Louis.
Louis, well, I gotta say, you all seem pretty alive for most of the people I see in here.
We've just got a couple questions.
This elven woman seems happy to have the company, but also has the trepidation of someone who is not used to it.
I'm here to book a consultation.
She says, yes, of course. Has there been an incident? Is there anything you need to report?
Feng will step forward and say, we've been sent in your direction that you might be able to help us with some things and answer some questions that we've got.
You see she applies the brake to a chair, straightens herself up and says, well, I've got 10 minutes and contrary to popular belief, the dead can wait. So, what can I help you with?
So we were sent in your direction by Holly. Do you know her?
From the Four Eyes.
She says, yes, Holly did come here once or twice. Not after a few visits, I think I might have scared her away, but she was just intrigued into the work I did here. I just chalked it up to her being a member of the Four Eyes, and I know how hungry they are for information, and, well, let's just say there aren't many morticians in this neck of the woods.
Yeah, that makes sense. So she was just asking about your job and like what you do with the bodies and stuff?
Make an inside check.
17.
You see she says, and you see she shifts uncomfortably in her chair and says, well, she took an interest in some of my experiments, let's say. She was more than interested, but once she found out my experiments were going nowhere, she seemed to stop visiting anymore.
Experiments? What kind of experiments does a mortician conduct?
Well, most of my day-to-day is cutting up dead bodies, figuring out what's wrong with them, and it can be tiresome and it can be imprecise. Death is a complicated matter, and sometimes even I am stumped for the cause of death of certain things. So I was working on this, and you see she looks very sheepish, spell to, I don't like the word resurrection, and you see she's like fidgeting around. But let's just say I was attempting to conjure, let's say, a temporary visage of the deceased to perhaps assist me so that they could, in their last moments of life, tell me how they died. It would make my work much more streamlined here, and I think it would do good for society.
The Wildfire Circle kind of do similar things when we light fires around the body to try and communicate with the spirits. Have you ever brought any of those practices in to your experiments?
You see she gestures to a chair and says, unfortunately, my lot is not to travel very much, Mr. Druid, sir, but that is a very fascinating line of inquiry, but I fear that perhaps that there are more fundamental things that are preventing my success here rather than a lack of inspiration.
Quig also just kind of steps in as well and says, we actually might need help with something that you could, related perhaps to your experiments and your speciality. Quig pulls out the red vial that he had previously taken and shown to Holly.
You see the mortician focuses her glasses on her face and says, that's certainly interesting. May I have a look at this?
Go ahead.
Sorry, can I just do an insight check on her just to get the vibes?
Yeah, you can.
Because Louis being real quiet in this moment. Can I give myself bardic inspiration after the roll?
No,
No,
No, sorry.
you can't give yourself
That's
bardic at all.
right.
Yeah.
It is a 14.
With a 14, you notice that this mortician is beating around the bush around this notion of necromancy. And so, while you do have a trepidation of her showing her this, it does kind of put you in the same boat together anyway. So, if you were to be implicated, so would she.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think Quig had come to that conclusion, being like, this is clearly someone who's interested in this field that is illegal, and we're bringing to her an illegal thing, and maybe that is all we need. It's
Now we
mutually assured.
Now we've both seen it. You can't do anything about it because you're here too. You're kind of complicit.
You see this high elf extends a long, slender hand and takes the vial. You see she turns quickly on her wheel and makes herself busy at the back of the room. You see a couple of sparks fly. You see she upturns the vial into this weird kind of machine, and you see it starts to like separate out all of the constituent components.
Is it a centrifuge?
You kind of like magical, literally.
Wind up centrifuge. Okay, magical centrifuge.
I'm too dumb to know what any of this is.
She says, well, yes, I usually use the centrifuge to decoagulate blood in certain bodies, but bodily liquids, I should say. But I have made some alterations that have helped me in my study. And you see she's functionally casting the Identify spell on this.
Oh my god, I could have done that.
But she's not casting Identify on the liquid. She's going through and segmentally casting Identify on each of the components.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
You see her eyes turn to you guys, and she returns, after she's finished her experiment, returns the vial to you and says, I'd be careful with that.
Yeah, we were kind of acting under that assumption.
You see she tracks her fingers and says, well, I found a few things in here. The biggest which is europium. Europium is a core constituent part of this, and
I think she would see a very clear lack of surprise. From Quig.
No, we thought we were going to add europium to this
But
to become the.
already
No,
in it.
Quig already knew that there was probably europium added to both of the things.
Oh, okay.
We had done that.
Yeah.
He clocks your nonchalant reaction to this and says, which is crazy because
Nodding.
you've got to understand, this is what the high elves have been looking for europium. Being able to synthesize it so easily. This is crazy. Where did you find this technology?
We were doing some work with the Four Eyes. Ancient stuff. We found it along the way.
Ancient, you say? She's gonna make a history check.
Nat 20. The fire. The party.
Not a 20, but an 18.
Oh, damn.
And she says, this makes no sense. If it was from an ancient civilization, then it must have been from the Wood Elves, but I don't know exactly the full parameters of this liquid, but my guess is that this formula is some sort of weapon that doesn't kill you. Well, might not kill you, but it removes the immortality of a being, which makes no sense because Wood Elves are immortal. Why would they create something like that?
Depends what they were fighting.
Make an intelligence save there.
Oh, okay. A 13.
You think, who were they fighting? Or who was fighting them? Does this mean anything to you?
Quig just pauses for a moment as he's trying to think of all the things that he could possibly say this means, but then he just kind of glances over to Louis, thinking about the removal of immortality.
Lysandra pops her hand on Louis' back the same way that Louis supported Lysandra, kind of as a inspirational nudge to talk.
Louis kind of like steadies herself, does that big performer's shake out of nerves, and explains what she told the party earlier this morning.
You see, as you begin your tale and recite it to the mortician, you see she very respectively folds her hands into her lap and listens intently to your entire story. She nods at certain places, squints her eyes at others, but doesn't interrupt you, and enables you to tell your story and your life with Susanna. At the end of your story, she wheels her chair up to you. What's your AC?
It is a 12.
Starts attacking, yeah.
Don't ruin the joke! You feel a sharp pain in your leg as you see she jams a syringe into the side
Oh my
of you
god.
and starts withdrawing a blood sample. She says, "This is fascinating. Would you mind coming over and sitting on this seat for me?"
Has worse bedside manner than the professor.
Lysandra's going to step forward. Hold on just a moment. You didn't ask if that was okay.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. You see, I don't usually have to ask.
For my patients.
Sorry, it's just a fault of habit.
Well, she's not dead.
Well,
You see, she leads the professor over. You see, she leads Louis over and starts conducting some tests. She checks her heartbeat and nods understandably at the silence that she hears. She looks under her tongue, looks in her ears, tests her reflexes, which are really, really good.
they got better.
And then she puts your blood sample through the machine, casts Identify. This is all taking over maybe a couple of hours.
Yeah, for sure.
You see Feng's just like poking one of the cadavers with his like staff just to amuse himself. This takes a while, but you see she again is like recasts Identify, not happy with the results, recasts Identify. And as the day begins to drone on and the shadows begin to lengthen, finally she turns to you, Louis, and says, "Well, I have some conclusions. You are the healthiest dead person I have ever met.
No.
Probably too healthy. I was expecting to find something in here, some kind of bug or substance, or I don't know, maybe you ate something you shouldn't have. There is no necromancy in your blood. There is nothing else added to you. You are, scientifically at least, perfectly normal."
What the fuck? What the fuck?
One above the table and one on the table.
Both.
Both.
Alright, Doctor. She has swords passing through her, like...
Yeah.
It's not entirely scientifically normal.
Did you pick up any ghost in her DNA?
Yeah, I wasn't hurt by necrotic energies.
You see she nods and then turns to you, Quig, and says, "Wizard, yes? Conservatory? I'm guessing by your bearing and general nervousness."
Holding a book. How did you know?
What do you remember about the Greater Will? And you can make an Arcana check or a History check.
I'll tell you in a moment what I remember. 21. Arcana.
21. You know that the Greater Will is a theory, yes, of some wizards in Noir, and that kind of became the basis for their understanding around certain branches of magic being against the interests of reality itself, which became known as the Greater Will. And that is why chronomancy, necromancy, and a few other schools are banned, because it interferes with the Greater Will in such a way that is too powerful to the extent that magic will then become not powerful, if that makes sense. Because if wizards can go back in time and resurrect themselves, what's the point of being a powerful wizard? So you see the mortician says...
Is that the explicit reasoning for it, or is it more like... It's too dangerous.
Thousands.
You know?
This was thousands of years of conjecture, all held by the High Elves, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
This is their rule. I know that there are many who are obeisant to the Greater Will, especially those of the Conservatory, and it's how they maintain their power. But what we have here is something different. I believe that perhaps this is the Greater Will fighting back, or trying to rewrite something. And my best guess is Louis is here for a purpose. I can't tell her what this purpose is, but it seems she has simply unfinished business. And for whatever reason or for whatever purpose, once that is fulfilled, so will she. Unless, and she gestures to the red vials, you would wish to defy the Greater Will and take things into your own hands.
Curious.
And that is where we'll end our session.
Oh my god.
We were all holding our breaths just then.
So is that the second, like, big kind of prophecy that we've got?
I think so.
And are they linked?
And are they linked?
That is the question.
I have so many
no.
questions. I was actually going to ask her so close to being like, because she mentioned immortality and the wood elves and the fact that they weren't immortal. So I was going to ask her, like, what beings or deities grant immortality
Yeah.
or can, create
was
immortality
thinking-
or...
Yeah.
I don't
Divine
know.
powers involved. in
Yeah.
this war and
Interesting. Selfless plugs.
I have a general one. Daniel, many episodes ago, had a shout out for just Melbourne coffee.
True.
And I recently have been walking around in the city a bit more and just found that there's a lot more Korean restaurants than I'd ever knew existed. So many like really small ones to like larger ones, all around, kind of between Spencer Street and King Street in the city. There's like a whole bunch in that area generally, like along Lonsdale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're usually in a lot of, like, little laneways and stuff, right?
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
walking through these laneways. I'm like, wow. And I tried kimchi for the first time, which is like,
Oh,
so
never had kimchi.
I never had kimchi before.
Basic.
Last night. Hey,
I'm learning.
I just haven't had that much Korean food. So
Yeah,
like,
fair.
starting my Korean food journey, I'm going to be trying a lot of these little places.
Oh, there is a Korean barbecue up the place from M&I, and it is so good.
We'll go there after the session lunch. It's really good.
Yes.
Alrighty, what a great shout out. As always, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at DownUnderDungeonPod. Like, comment, and tag us in any of your fan art. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And hopefully we will see you next week.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye for
I'll
now.
be seeing you.